All right, we are live. We are live. Afrikan Manhood, baby Fahoudie. It's your favorite warrior, BlakPantha, in the building today with a very special guest, brother Serie Mcdougal. The professor himself is in the building. How you doing today, brother?
I'm doing great. I'm honored. I'm honored to have received the invitation and thankful for your time and to all of the Warrior Clan viewers and listeners. So much appreciation.
Oh man, we're honored to have you, man. We're really honored to have you. Everybody that knows me knows that I've brought your name up a bunch of different times. Being that it's always that knows me. Hold on. Okay, so being that you were a great source of inspiration for me, and motivated me to do some work in this community. So it was kind of like
brought your name up.
You know how people have like those bucket lists, I guess, and they're like, man, if I could get so on the show, that'd be great. So I guess I was selling myself a little short because I thought it was so out of reach, but here we are, and I'm just thankful for that, brother. We're gonna have a great show today for everybody tuned in. I'm inviting a few people now.
Hey, well, I'm the one that's thankful. I was looking at your videos and all of the topics that you cover, the expertise that you have on here when it comes to spirituality and medicine, all kind of stuff, the debunking of myths. And so I'm nervous. I'm nervous because I hope I don't stumble over one of these myths now. I don't. But no, I know this is some serious critical thinking on this show. So yeah, it's an honor for me to be here.
Honor, man. That's an honor for me, man. If people don't give us a brief intro for the people that don't know you.
I am a professor of Pan-African Studies, Africana Studies, a researcher, and I mean that's primarily what I have dedicated my life to. I mean, I've went to school in Chicago, grew up in Chicago, son of Syrian and McDougal, and on the south side of Chicago. Went to several schools, my high school, Hills Francisco, all black, all male high school. And went from there to undergrad in a small town in Dubuque, Iowa, Loras College. To Albany, New York, SUNY Albany, New York, the Africana Studies program there, department there. Went from there, nice pipeline between Albany Africana Department and Temple University, actually. A lot of students go from the master's because they don't have a PhD there. So a lot of students go
transition
from the master's over to the PhD at Temple. And so I was in that pipeline and finished there, did my dissertation research. Under the guidance of Dr. Asante, Dr. Mazama, and Dr. Sonia Peterson-Lewis, and then I only applied to one place after graduating. It was highly irresponsible, and I don't encourage anybody to follow that. Apply to one place because of I was focused so much on the dissertation, I didn't even think about a job. I was not even thinking about employment. Period. I was into my research.
That's how much academics take over your life. You ain't even.
It's an anything job. I wasn't even thinking about a job, but I was at a conference, and Dr. Wade Nobles, came up to my table after a panel, and he was like, "You should apply for this job." And he made it clear. I'm not saying you're gonna get it or anything like that, but you should definitely apply. And I ended up getting it. It was the only place I applied to, San Francisco State. San Francisco State. There did majority of my career, and only recently I came to Cal State LA to join the Pan-African Studies department here. So that's where I currently am right now.
Man, that's awesome. You say you went to an all-male high school. Was it African centered, or was it, what kind of school was that?
It was not African centered.
Okay.
It wasn't African centered, but it was highly focused under the leadership of Tim King. It was highly race conscious.
Okay.
And race conscious, community conscious, and it focused on manhood. Manhood. And that was strong achievement orientation, strong emphasis on mentorship. So even though I wouldn't say it was African centered, it was more race conscious, community conscious, manhood conscious. So they did take advantage of the fact that they had access to these black males, which a lot of places they have an all black male student body, but they don't take advantage of the fact that they don't have a gender focus, gender focus on it. And then if you add the element of African centered, I mean, even far fewer. So yeah.
That's
but yeah, I'm very thankful.
Peace to Donnie Williams. Peace to Correct Method. Aha. Peace to Iwa Pele Movement. Thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate the love. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. Share this video so everybody can benefit from this build. All right, brother, let's talk about your book. I got this book in my library. Research Methods, Africana Studies, Black Studies, and Critical Thinking. What was your inspiration behind writing this book?
The inspiration behind writing that book it started with teaching assignment, because I was assigned to teach research methods class in my department. And so in teaching it, I immediately thought, okay, what book am I going to use? I'll use the book I was taught from. And I was taught from Earl Babby. Earl Babby has his book called the Practice of Social Research. And so I think it might be the most widely used. I'm not sure, but it's the book I learned from, and it did not have. I mean, I'm teaching in the Africana Studies department at the time, so it's hard to use Earl Babby's principles of social research because it doesn't include any theoretical approach that like speaks to Black people's cultural, political realities at all. Mm-hmm. It's highly neutral in posture. It does not have very many examples that are aligned with Africana Studies as a discipline. So the relevance of it was highly questionable. I had to do a lot of extra work outside of the textbook to have my students connect to the textbook. So I'm like, if I'm doing all of this extra work, I'm writing all of this extra stuff into my lectures, I might as well use it to write a book.
Might as well be a book.
Right. Make it easier for me to do my job as a teacher, But that was primarily the reason, the lack of the tone, the relevance of the theories, the orientation of these standard textbooks. And then at the same time, why would I expect them to do anything other than mislead in an Africana Studies class? It wasn't written for us anyway.
Right. You won an award for this book, didn't you?
Yeah. Won the Sheikhan Joke Award. For the Diop, I was very thankful for that. And then at NCBS, it won the award. Sheikhan Joke Ida B. Wells Barnett Award.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
a huge honor, man. I actually went and visited his university in Senegal. They got a great library there. You know, if it wasn't for my wife, I might still be there pulling books off the shelf. And that and the fact that my French sucks. But other than that, I might still be there reading some stuff. Salute to the
I have to
because I just put on my Facebook today, you know, salute to the great ancestor, Sheikhan Joke. You know, it's very special to me, being that I have jokes in my family. You know, I don't know if we're connected or related some type of way, but I do have jokes in my family, being that my father's from Senegambia. So he's very special to me.
Wow.
That's a real honor, man. Real honor. In fact, for people that don't know, there's kind of a running joke between my last name and Jokes. So my last name is Njai. Yes, that's my real last name. I've had people actually ask me that. They think I made it up or adopted it. No, Njai is my last name. So Jokes and Njai have a running joke, so to speak. If you come to a party, all the food is gone, it's ate up, they're gonna say, "Oh, if a joke was there, he's gonna say it must have been some Njais here." You know, and you know, if somebody says something that they're kind of slow, they don't pick up on something right away, and Njai say, "Stop acting like a joke." So,
wow.
it's a running joke. You know, it's friendly. It's not violent. Best like the joke that we have, you know, with each other. So for people that don't know that, I just wanted to share that. So you have a revised version of this book. So what's in the revised version is not in the version I got. What's in the revised version, brother?
I mean, so when I finished the first version, I just went and asked a lot of my friends, a lot of people I'm close with, and I said, "What would you say was missing from this first edition?" And thankfully, people have no problem being brutally honest with me. I don't know if it's something on my face or what, but people do not have a problem being honest with me. They tell me exactly what they think. So people told me all of the stuff they thought was missing, and I was like, okay. And I think like there's enough for me to justify writing another version. And so one of the biggest things was, I mean, I guess it reflected my own approach in a lot of ways. I'm not a big historiographer, so I didn't do justice to historiography per se in the first edition, you know? So I definitely added a section on historiography, Africana historiography, building on kind of like the language of Anderson Thompson and Jacob Carruthers on the challenges of historiography and African historiography's objectives and goals. So I added that historiography section, also a section on visual ethnography. So using media photography and images in studying the realities of people of African descent. So that visual piece is there, and it also includes a little bit about visual ethnography too. And then a big section on, well, I mean, to me, it was a big section. It may look relatively small.
It's bigger when you're writing it.
Yeah, bigger when you're writing it. Definitely bigger when you're writing it. But a section on missing data, like the significance of missing data, which has become big in the conversation about police killings. You know, because the missing data is high actions. You know, it hides phenomena, it hides abuses and all kind of stuff, and it makes it unthinkable because we have no data on it. It can distort stuff. It can, if police have the ability to be highly discretionary on where they police, then if there's missing data about other communities, then we have a distorted understanding, right? And we may think we're doing more crime relatively than we are, you know, relative to others. If there's missing data. Even in medicine, missing data. So especially for Black people, super important. So I added a section on missing data, and then the theory section, which is a huge section in the book, is like the largest chapter in the whole book. Is chapter 2 of that textbook. And there was some areas that didn't have any theoretical representation, like economics. So I took James Stewart and Anderson, well, not Anderson, I'm sorry, but James Stewart, the Black political economy theory, and added that I kind of had like 4 different theoretical frameworks for Black women's studies, but I didn't have any for men. So I added the African American male theory, which is by Bush and Bush, their theory on African American males, and then a virtue theory, which is like an African American religion and spirituality theory. So added that, and again, just trying to make it more relevant and a little more inclusive in scope, that book. So that's what's in that. I mean, those are the biggest things. Don't get me wrong. There's like other charts and stuff like that, but those are the biggest pieces that's in the second edition that's not in the first. Yeah.
What made you want to put Tahuti on the front?
Oh man, so just wisdom, the and measurement that Tahuti represents, and the kind of like what we were talking about, I think before we began, we were kind of having a conversation about, okay, we got access to all of this information now, but now we have to become judges of information's value, their validity, their reliability, and the strong representation of that is Tahuti.
Yeah,
you know, the scribe.
Yeah, you gotta have it, or you're gonna be all over the place. You know, it was such a big thing this year. You know, with Brother Nick Cannon. You know, big thing with him, and when he went in on the Jews with Professor Griff, and I was explaining to my followers, Nick has not developed that discernment yet. This is why everyone is on his canons class. He's got a wide variety of guests because he hasn't narrowed his scope yet. He hasn't understand the filtering process yet. When you start to get into the filtering process, you're like, oh, I can't use his research. No references. I can't do this. He hasn't done that yet. So he has everybody because, he's pro-Black, but he doesn't understand, about the conflicting information. And, that's just his journey to walk. He's got, and if he doesn't get there, he'll stay in all of these different lanes and zones and not knowing how to really organize them. And I think your book does, teaches people how to do that in an excellent fashion. I'm going to put the title to the book in the chat. Y'all go get that, man. I know it's on Amazon. For everybody that's got Prime, like myself, get that, man. Look that up. That is a must-have in your library. And for people that you may know that are having problems discerning good information from bad information, this is a tool that will help them. And speaking of research methods, because there's a lot of research methods out there, right? What is your go-to research method?
The method that I've used the most, I would say, is definitely qualitative ones, like focus groups, interviews, get a lot of rich data from there. But I also very much like quantitative research. And I just recently did a quantitative piece, and it's on Black student success. So the quantitative piece is not, it's a year away from publication, actually. It'll be in the Journal of Negro Education. But so I'm trying to do more quantitative work, but I lean toward focus groups and interviews. But I also like discourse analysis, analysis of speech and oral discourse. So I like a lot of them. It's just that I would say the qualitative is what I've done the most. And maybe that says that that's my favorite. I don't know.
It kind of does.
I guess it does. Yeah.
I'll put this on the screen so you can see it from one of our listeners. And you see that from the brother?
Oh, thank you very much. I'm glad that it's useful, Brother Adama, and also let me know anything, if there's any thing that you think is missing that could have been helpful for you. You know, open to critique, absolutely, so that I can make that text more applicable. You know, so I appreciate it, and I hope it's useful for you.
You're trying to make another volume. You better not make another volume of this book.
Man, I want that thing to be as useful as possible.
Trying to get all of my money. Oh man, let's talk about your other book, Black Men Studies, Black Manhood and Masculinity in the United States, Context, Black Studies and Critical Thinking. What was your inspiration for this book?
I had gone to a presentation once in NCBS, and it was about like Black manhood and masculinity, and I thought I was looking at the presentation, I'm like, this can't be serious, but because every representation of Black manhood and masculinity, it was like Chris Brown, Mike Tyson, all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, what?
And so it was more stereotypical.
It was highly stereotypical, and it was even the people that were talked about, it was like moments in their lives, so that were bad. You know what I mean? It was all subjective. I mean, and highly anecdotal, based on, you know, I know a Black man. I had this experience with one, and I'm like, I'm at an academic conference. This shouldn't be possible. You know, this shouldn't. I used to, and I was thinking that this shouldn't be possible. This shouldn't be possible. And then, like, reading the serious work, even the serious work that made it into journals, a lot of it, not all of it at all. Absolutely. And also not all the academic presentations either. I don't want to say that it was but that's where it started, with that presentation. I don't want to say that's a representation of like academic presentations on it, but that one really set me off, and it had me like going, kind of looking, and I've always read stuff about Black men, and I guess I kind of it didn't put me off the fact that I couldn't get an accurate representation. I couldn't see my grandfather in it. I couldn't find my father in a lot of the research on Black men. I'm like, there's something wrong with this if I can't locate my own family in most of the scholarship on Black males. Why is that? So I wanted to do something that gave a more full picture of Black males, because a lot of it was kind of patchy, and it was disconnected, and remind me of that elephant analogy, you know, like the blind men, that one of them is touching the elephant's ear and it said, oh, elephants are flat. The other one's touching the elephant's tusk, and it's like, oh, elephants are like a snake. And then other one's touching the body, and it's like, oh, elephants are like a wall. And it's like, okay, well, we got scholarship on black male in criminal justice, focus on that. We got black male focus on underachievement, academia, dropout rates, stuff like that. You got stuff about black males, absentee fathers, etc. And you got little pieces. And then when you look at it, and it's like, okay, you're not looking at black males' involvement in family life, black male father engagement, which can be high or it can be low. You're looking at father absence. So now not only are we looking at pieces and not how they fit together, we're looking at pieces of pieces. So the stuff on black males is so distorted that black males live in front of everybody, and still we're not seen for the fullness of our personhood, you know.
Absolutely.
You know, sitting right here in broad daylight, and you get a variety of black males, and the ones that people see are the ones that fit a stereotype.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's
the
what they
other
want to
ones
see.
are
That's their
completely
inherent
invisible.
biases coming out, you know.
Right.
That's a key point there. Yeah. Now let me ask you this question. I just thought of this. Should black women read this book to understand black men?
Say that one more time.
Should black women read this book to understand black men more?
If they want to. I would not say that black women need to read this book at all. But if they are interested in like everybody else, I wouldn't single black women out, but if they are interested in understanding black males in full context, to kind of locate to use Dr. John Henry Clark's language, to locate black men on the map of human geography, so to speak, you know, to kind of like look at black men in a fullness of scope and time and context. Yes, absolutely. And I say that for anybody.
I'm going to put
those are the only people I want to read it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to put the title of that book in the chat as well. It's also on Amazon. You can pick that up as well, man. It's a great book, great study. More people came in the chat. Peace to my brother in here, Rhett, MossiWarriorClan Warrior. Of course, peace to brother Adama. Peace to brother Robert Ron. My brother Kufu. Peace to Omar Reed. Oh, my brother Preacher's in the building. I must be doing something right. Peace, brother. Infinite Minds is in the building. I appreciate you. Wow. Go ahead, brother.
No, I was just saying, wow, all of you got a lot of listeners or viewers.
Hey, man. Hey,
appreciate it.
When I started this channel years ago, man, you know, didn't think it would get as big as it is now. Hopefully we grow more, but we like to do quality over quantity. Although we do have a lot of videos, we put out a lot of products, we like to put out quality, man. I like to get quality people in my interview series that are, you know, qualified to talk on these subjects, man. I don't just bring everybody on the show, honestly. You know, I look for certain people that I know gonna give some great information. You know, that's my focus. That's always been my focus. I want to bring people that can bring truth to power on the show. So, like I said, I've been wanting to bring you on for a long time. You know, that's what it is. That's what we like to do on the Mossi show. But speaking about your black men studies, do you believe that black manhood in this state today is under attack?
Okay. Easy question. That's an easy one. Like the answer is an emphatic yes. You know, I think at the same time, the kind of adversity, it kind of gives us what we need, an awareness to be able to function, maintain our equilibrium in this world, the kind of adversity, unique adversity that black males face. So there's that side of it. you know, but absolutely in terms of under attack from the gate, black manhood, the black manhood that African men brought with them in terms of leadership, courage, bravery, knowledge, assertiveness, all of those things were a threat upon arrival, you know, in the Americas. So it's always, black manhood has always been a threat, but then particular kinds of black manhood, of course, are what's targeted, you know, when assertiveness, black male assertiveness, for example, a threat in particular, and it's kind of like neutralized. There's an attempt, I'm sorry, to neutralize it using the language of hyper masculinity today, you know, which is highly like a abstract kind of language that pathologizes black male assertiveness. Says, you know, but black males can be assertive without harming other people. They can be assertive without causing damage to anybody else or dehumanizing anybody else. But it's just a way to pathologize black male assertiveness, especially in the professional world. Black male assertiveness is highly seen as a threat. But yeah, black manhood is going to always be under attack by people who benefit from black male subjugation, any way, shape, or form. But absolutely under attack.
Yeah, it's that hypermasculinity thing that definitely that hits home. You know, you never know when you're going to encounter, you know, that claim. You know, you be coaching basketball and people say, "Oh, yeah, hyper masculine, toxic masculinity." You're like, like really? Like that's always the trump card, you know.
I mean, it doesn't. What does it prove? It's so. I mean, if you take it, it's like, okay, well, again, what this conversation about, kind of critiquing the language of hyper masculinity, is not a denial of problem behavior or antisocial behavior, because people like Amos Wilson been doing it for the longest. Amos Wilson talked about kind of like reactionary masculinity, kind of same idea. Yeah. But the difference is that Amos Wilson was very clear that it's not even most black males.
Right.
You know, he was clear that, okay, there's reactionary masculinity, but there's also this kind of, masculinity or pro-social masculinity. And he gave you a full scope. The kind of language today, I mean, you have people who use the language of hyper masculinity, but this is my litmus test right here. So is the conversation only about hyper masculinity? Because now it doesn't mean anything. Like if we, for example, say me and you have a conversation, we're talking about high income. Okay, we have to, that assumes that we have an understanding of what middle income is and what low income is. Now we can have a meaningful conversation about high income. If we're talking about speeding and we're talking about the dangers of like people speeding, then that assumes that we know what the speed limit is. We know what driving the speed limit is. If we're talking about sleep patterns, you know, if we're talking about insomnia or not sleeping enough, it assumes that we know what a healthy amount of sleep is and what hypersomnia is, like what too long sleep is. When people are talking about hyper masculinity, but never seem to get around to talk about what healthy masculinity is, what normal masculinities are, that tells me
that's not in the
agenda. They're not even trying. They're not trying. They're not interested in any kind of healthy masculinity, because the conversation would involve that. They're targeting extreme behavior, and presenting it as if it applies to the majority of Black men, with zero evidence and no conversation. If you have no conversation of what healthy is, then all you're interested in is then that's the pathology. That's that problem paradigm that white supremacy has taught us. The only thing is that it's not just white people that's applying it to Black males, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
And like you said earlier, it becomes a personal, anecdotal, subjective conversation of based on the experience of the presenter versus a total scope of what we're looking at. And, you know, we got to be careful of those slippery slopes, you know, in painting Black men and women. You know, we shouldn't overgeneralize, you know, as those conversations often tend to do. You know?
Yeah. Like you say something like, this is how this stuff works. If there were not this attack on Black males, then we wouldn't have language like a good Black man. Like, for example, say if you say someone once kind of like said, like, okay, this phrase you're an intelligent woman, you know, an intelligent woman. And it's like, okay, well, wait a minute. I know that's a compliment, but are you kind of saying that like most women are not intelligent? So you're surprised by my intelligence as a woman? You know what I mean? Or like,
you speak very well.
You speak well, or you're pretty for a dark skinned girl, you know?
Yeah,
that kind of stuff.
The compliment and the diss at the same time.
It's a compliment and a diss at the same time. So like that whole that good Black man thing is it comes from a negative place. And even if you've had, like, I'm sure you have had maybe, and I know I've had people who do care for me who have said that, and I know what their intention is, but absolutely, I mean, there's the negative origins of that. And I think that like all these things do, these kind of like, you know, you asked about like, are we under attack? All the attacks do, I think, is they highlight little stuff that we need to make a part of Black males' affirmation and brotherhood and nurturing to equip us to be able to achieve our destinies in spite of that kind of stuff, you know? And it makes us sensitive to, for example, you mentioned like Black women as well. That kind of anti-Black maleness that we experience, those attacks, it makes us conscious of what we need, the internal equipment that we need. And it also makes us sensitive and aware of how we could possibly do that to others, you know? Absolutely. So yeah,
absolutely. Peace to brother Teti Ursa Ma'at and Nefru. Peace to sister Juliana Zachary. Hey, Pure Black. First of all, I'm gonna put this on the screen. First of all, I'm not in California right now, and I forgot that the brother was in California when I asked him for this time. But he said he was a morning person, so that's why we did it this early in Cali time, because it's like 7 something in the morning in Cali. But we appreciate you joining anywhere, brother Pure Black, brother Q Hefner, Zane Montego, Kadeem Stewart, Taharka Nahisi. What's going on, brother that I traveled to Kemet with at one point. I appreciate you stopping through. I know you got your PhD in Africana Studies from Temple University. I am so jealous, but that's neither here nor there. I know you had to run into who I call the godfather of Black studies, Dr. Malefia Kente Asante. Can you tell us how much of an influence he's had on your scholastic career?
Oh man, tremendous. I want to check Dr. Asante. The next time I see him, I want to look at the back of his neck and see if there's a circuit board back there or something, because this man is he's so productive and he's so consistent. His work ethic is just unparalleled, you know, and he's just a constant.
Yeah,
Every
he's a
time I
computer.
think, okay, oh, I can't do this, I can't do all of that, I'm doing too much, and I look at him, and it's like, if he can, I don't know how he's doing it, but I have no excuse, you know. So I got to get
You
to work. So the man,
yeah.
but he is a tremendous scholar on the one hand, and I don't know if people know how big of a mentor he is to people. Like, he is a lifelong mentor. The man is like constantly encouraging students and former students. Um, he doesn't just he's not just the teacher who, you see him once, he's too busy, he's got to go. He answers his phone, he answers his email, he calls you up, he says, do you need any help? He's calls with opportunities. He's a lifelong mentor, and he's extremely creative. So, and his fixation is advancing the discipline. Advancing the discipline. He's done it in ways that have longevity. Like, I was thinking about some of my own work, and like, okay, what can I do better? And I'm like, okay, I do a lot of asking and answering research questions, but what Dr. Asante kind of like made me think is that, okay, but what have I contributed theoretically to the discipline? And I'm like, okay, well, I need to work on that, because what Dr. Asante has done is he's contributed a lens. He's contributing theoretically to the discipline, which that's going to outlive anybody's like any individual person. The other thing he's done in that area is institutionally starting the first PhD program in the discipline. The tremendous influence he has had, along with his colleagues, of course, in shaping Temple University. And what's better than an amazing scholar is one who creates an institution that systematically reproduces Afrocentric scholars. Now, that's something more powerful than any one individual. He created something that annually reproduces people who know how to look at African people's reality in culturally responsible ways. So, yeah, he's incredible.
Man, he's author of one of my favorite books, a classic text, Encyclopedia of African Religion. Him along with Sister Azama. So he, man, very instrumental, very just a giant among us, and just to be in that scholastic arena with him, man, I just like to be a fly on the wall, because I know y'all have so many conferences and so many, shows, and I'm coming to some this year because I'm leaving overseas for good this year, so I'm gonna be out there. I ain't gonna leave me out. Got a joke conference and the ass cat conference that I ain't been able to come to. I'm coming this year. Y'all gonna see my face.
All right.
Hey,
All right.
I'm tired of being left out. I want to catch some of these presentations, man. But anybody that knows me, has been a long subscriber of this channel, knows I credit you with the reason why I started the only Pan-African journal for the conscious community, Killmongers Corner, because you put out a charge on a Sar Imhotep show years ago. You said we don't have enough Pan-African journals. And you know that meme where they have Michael Jordan and he's sitting back and he's like, and I took that personally. I took that, I took that personally, and I was like, I can do that. I know enough talented writers and scholastic brothers to put together a Pan-African journal for the conscious community. I can do this. So that's the person, for everybody that want to know what he looked like. This is him, ladies and gentlemen. Serie Mcdougal is the person that put out that charge. And can you talk about what made you put out that charge and what you noticed that made you think in that mind frame?
Wow. Well, first of all, thank you for that credit. I believe you would have done it eventually. You would have done it anyway.
Maybe, but you gave me the idea,
man. But no, so I think consider the politics of a simple journal search. Okay, you go to the library, you find the search bar, and you search. For Black people, we can't depend on. We don't have the luxury of just doing a journal search because the numbers are not in our favor. Most of these journals that if you type something, say you're interested in African spirituality, okay, and you type that into a journal search, oh my God, the sheer volume of Eurocentric scholarship out there is overwhelming. So we have to have journals that are specific, that we can trust that they have taken a culturally grounded approach, a historically conscious approach, a approach that represents our unique political and ideologies, objectives, and we can only do that if we have journals that have that kind of criteria that's a part of what they publish, so we have to be able to have those kind of journals just to have valid research and knowledge on who we are. Otherwise, if we just take that search on African spirituality, I mean, we're going to come up with stuff that says that, like, African spirituality we'll come up with stuff about witchcraft. We'll come up with stuff written by Christian missionaries, and we'll come up with all of this kind of stuff that pathologizes. We come up with stuff that pathologizes who we are more than we come up with stuff that reflects what we want to know and our standards for knowledge. So that's why I said that. But yeah,
absolutely, man.
And I looked at the journal too, and it's a great journal too. Yeah, and
man,
I saw that Brother
Sar's in there. Volume 2 is out. Killmongers Corner Volume 2 is out as well. And I'm working on my solo book right now, which I hope to be out by the end of this year. But after that, I'm gonna be right back on it with Volume 3. Would love a piece from you, brother, in Volume 3. Would love to have just some of your work in Volume 3. But that is at a later date, because I got to get this solo book out. People gonna Killmongers corner me to death. I get emails about, hey, bro, I got something for Volume 3. I'm like, whoa. Let me get my solo project out. Sheesh.
Wow. But I'm glad to hear that there's enthusiasm behind it, though. Killmongers corner.
There is. It's a rewarding experience, really, to get that out, because and like every community, we got our bad apples, so to speak, but what happens is the bad apples tend to be the representatives. So people, they don't know of the brilliant minds that are in this community of people called the conscious community. This people that are dedicated to scholarship, because we have the people that are not, and they may be more popular. They may get more views. They may get more opportunities. But I wanted to show everybody, the world, that the people that you're derogatorily calling hoteps and woke and all of these phrases we hear, there are people in this community that are scholastically talented and have work and books and shows and presentations and artwork and poetry and all of the stuff that comes out of the brilliance of the African mind. I wanted to put that on display. So people would get the other side of the scope. that was when I took that charge from you, that was my focus point. I wanted to put us in the spotlight, put us in the limelight, and
Wow, thank you for
hey,
doing that.
thank you, man, because I honestly never thought about doing it until I heard you say that, and that's what pushed me forward, man. So thank you, brother. When we talk about African psychology, why is it important in Africana studies and in academia in general?
I mean, it's the science of the spirit, and we know if we look at the world through the lens of African world views,
Right.
we come up with a tendency to like that our ontology, the nature of our being, is spirit, and that's what African psychology is. It's the science. It's studying the spirit, science of the spirit, and it connects that kind of like relationship between not just the mind and behavior, human behavior, but the spirit, the mind, and human behavior. And we know that that's critical because the human mind is so important, which we know. I mean, we already know that from our culture in general, but we also have learned through oppression that, as Carter G. Woodson has said, that if you control the mind, you control behavior. So African psychology, it gives us a lens to look at that, and it's a battle. Some people say that the battle of the 21st century is the battle of the African mind. So the Blak psychology is at the forefront of that, and it's a twin development with the discipline of Africana Studies. Both 1968. So it's critical, absolutely critical in protecting us, maintaining our connection to the spirit.
Yeah, definitely, man. It's definitely something that I think is so important, but often overlooked. We do champion some of our great historians and scientists, but our great African psychologists sometimes don't get the same or equal praise as some of our great historians. So I definitely like to bring that to the forefront. And that being said, give me your top 3 African psychologists.
Top 3. I would say Wade Nobles, Dr. Wade Nobles, because of just his creativity, his ability to think. There's this phrase, thinking outside of the box. Dr. Nobles thinks nowhere near the box. He doesn't think anywhere near the box. So, he kind of like put forth the idea of basing Blak psychology in African philosophy and kind of like redefining what we would never ask what psychology means to us, and he kind of said, hey, we need to start with different questions than looking at our scores on these different instruments that were created by Eurocentric psychologists. We need to ask what psychology is first. According to us, we can't just accept other people's definitions. So I think the creativity and independence of thought of Dr. Nobles, creating new concepts, brand new language almost, is something that sets him apart in my mind. And then I would say Kobe Kanban. Kobe Kanban, who's like his mentors were like he comes out of the school of thought of Francis Cress Welsing and Bobby Wright, and he has his own blending of like I like empirical research, you would be hard pressed to find a lot of African-centered empirical researchers, quantitative and stuff. Quantitative, which is not. I'm not saying that quantitative is the only empirical, but it's a type of empirical research. And this man combines the African-centered approach and empirical research, and is way ahead of his time. It's way ahead of his time. So, Kobe Kanban, African worldview, empirical research, his work on that is, and spirituality is just, man, I can't explain how powerful that is. And then Amos Wilson, because of the political side, and Amos Wilson kind of like highlighting the fact that, okay, he is one of those folks who said the battle of the 21st century is the mind, because for him, the warfare that Black people face in general is a psychological one, a psychic warfare in his language, psychic violence, as he calls it, you know? So I think Amos Wilson for that psychic battleground, and his the political context, the context of power. And then Kobe Kanban for combining African-centeredness, worldview, spirituality, and empirical research. And Dr. Wade Nobles for his just creativity, independence of thought. So those would be my three.
My three would be, I'm also going Wade Nobles. Island of Memes is a fantastic book. If you have not read it, that's a fantastic book on the Haitian Revolution and mimetic ideation and how these concepts, you know, come alive and what they mean. I think that's a fantastic book. Actually, Leonard Jeffries gave me that book in Atlanta when he came to speak at the UNIA, and I didn't read it for a very long time, but when I read it, I was like, I should have read this book a long time ago. Like, it was, you know, it was real impactful. I'm gonna go Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. You know, definitely gonna go with her. You know, her work, the ISIS papers, and so many of the things, you know, that she talked about in that book, we saw later in life. Like,
Yeah,
you know, we if you read that book when it first came out, you're like, oh man, she's making some bold claims, and then fast forward 2021, you're like, oh man, like, you know, like, this stuff happened, you know, like, and you know, and I gotta go with Amos Wilson, man. Just man, Amos Wilson's mind, man, like, just a juggernaut, you know, like, just a guy that just breaks down stuff so systematically, so man, you know, he's one of my favorite scholars ever. You know, you read one book, I tell you what, you read one book by Amos Wilson, you will not be the same again. You'll never think about stuff.
that's so true.
You know, just one. It ain't got to be Blueprint for Black Power. I know everybody's scared of the big Blueprint for Black Power, 900 pages. I got it. You could just read Falsification for African Consciousness and be like, man, I never thought of this like that. You know, just
oh man,
he's that guy, man. You know, he's that guy. You know, and those are definitely my top three. You got an article in the Journal of Pan-African Studies called African Foreign Policy, A Question of Methodology. And I've been very critical of African foreign policy. So that definitely interests me. I haven't read the article yet, but I just want to, you know, what was your take? What was your inspiration, and what was your take on that whole topic?
It was at a time, like, I wrote that article at a time where, like, China was ramping up its presence on the African continent. there was kind of like a hyper pursuit of offshore fuel resources. So like drilling in the Caspian Sea, off the coast of Brazil, off the coast of South America, Ecuador and Venezuela, and also West Africa, offshore drilling. So there was kind of an increased pursuit of African minerals, fuel minerals, and other minerals too, like strategic minerals that are located in places on the African continent. Some minerals only located in large quantity in certain places in the world, like coltan, and you're gonna find it in Congo and in Argentina. Like it's just a few places. Not just those two, but just a few places in large quantity, and they're strategic, especially to emerging technology. Especially in a 5G. The emergence of 5G and the importance of critical or strategic minerals. And there was a debate over whether Africa should buy into or should buy into the Beijing consensus, and kind of like that's kind of like a metaphor for China's vision for the future of Africa and its commerce, or a Washington consensus, referring to America's approach, to engaging Africa, which is highly leans on security presence, American security presence and influence in Africa, and exploitation of minerals. Whereas China's approach kind of like includes also access to African resources, but also increasing the presence of cheap Chinese goods on the African continent, and the increased presence of Chinese workers on the African continent, and which had the impact of displacing African workers, African textile workers,
farmers, everything.
All kind of workers on the African continent. So, like, okay, if we're talking about this Beijing consensus or a Washington consensus or even a New Delhi consensus, but what about an African consensus? What about a unified African approach that says, look, this is what our agenda is. This is the criteria we have for any project on the African continent. These are the environmental standards that we have. No matter what you do, you can't do this. These are the employment standards that we have. This is who you have to hire. This is how many of us you have to hire for anything that you have on these are the caps on how many of your goods we're going to allow in our country. You know what I mean? Or different countries. So like that was what that article was about. An African consensus, and not just like Africa choosing from the Beijing consensus, between the Beijing consensus, the Washington consensus, or a New Delhi consensus. Nothing against those countries. Yeah.
Or
maybe something against them.
You just made
a little bit.
I come from a sports background, me playing basketball, college and semi-pro. And it just sparked in me, other countries do this. And I'm going to give you an example. Like anybody that that plays overseas professional ball, depending on the league and the country, there's a cap on how many imports can be on a certain team. So if you got like a Division I Israeli Tel Aviv League, where they're the best team, the Tel Aviv team. They can only bring in 2 imports. That's it. The rest of them team members gotta be Israeli. You know what I'm saying? And they do the same thing in Mexico. 2 imports. Rest of that team gotta be nationalists of that country. They do the same thing in Saudi. They do the same thing in China. So everybody's probably familiar, if you're familiar with basketball, with Stephon Marbury and how he went to China and became, basically a god over there. Well, he was one of 2 American players on that team. The rest of that team, if you go look at those highlights, they're all Chinese. So going with what you just said about, instilling caps and standards and our own sort of circling the wagons, and people will be quick to say this is racist, this is discriminatory, you're preaching hate. Your country do this. It's about survival. It's about practicality. It's about not being colonialized again. It's about all of these things that different countries already have in place. We just got to catch up. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, you have a bad game over there in one of them countries, and send your ass home and get another import. That's what they do. It could be one bad game. It could be the first night you there, fresh off the flight, jet lagged. The game at 4, you got there at 12. You have a bad game. We don't think this is gonna work out.
Yeah,
we gotta have the same, the same with our country. With our continent, we gotta have that. And that's what you just sparked in me with what you're saying. That, man, I see it coming, but it's coming so slow. They're trying to push for the global African currency. They're trying to push for the global African passport. I see the strides.
Yeah.
We just got to intensify those efforts, man, because the scramble for Africa is not over.
Oh no.
Not by a long shot. Everybody references, the Berlin Conference, and they think that's past. Nah.
Yeah.
They still want to be in business with the continent because of our resources, and that's not anything that's going to go away. Given what we've built society off of, it's not going to go away. They need the coltan, the diamonds, the gold, the rubber, the cotton, and all the other resources we produce. So they're always going to be looking to be in business with us. We gotta look around and say, wait, if we have all of this, why do we keep outsourcing? We need to bring this in. We need to start fucking with each other, and we would need China loans and Japanese loans and all of these other countries that want to, come in and plant their flag, so to speak. That's just my 2 cola nuts.
And then they want to deal with the African continent bilaterally, without any sort of continent-wide standards, so that they can bottom feed. They can find the lowest standards that they can find. Like China had built a copper mine in Zambia, completely violating all kinds of building standards and codes. What happens? Copper mine explodes, kills a bunch of Zambians. As a consequence of it. So they will seek the lowest environmental labor standards they can possibly find, exploit it at the risk of African people's lives. They're gonna take all the shortcuts they can to have maximum profit. If we don't call them on these codes, they're gonna take advantage. And when it blows up, literally blows up in their face, blows up. It's gonna be a apologetic, a halfway apology. You're gonna say, "Oh, it was an accident."
But when you go back and look, like, y'all didn't even try, man. What was this? You know, we gotta intensify our efforts for a united Africa, or as Sheikh Anta Diop said, that united African front, that United States of Africa, almost, in a sense,
Mm-hmm.
that Black Africa that he was talking about in his book. We got to intensify our efforts for it. What's the best way, in your opinion, that we can apply Africana Studies to our lives?
So I think that what Africana Studies, Pan-African Studies as a discipline does is it directs our curiosity. It connects things that the mainstream education disconnects. Mainstream education disconnects our ethnic identity from our scholarly identity. Our intellectual identity. It disconnects our skill from our commitment to collective advancement of the Black community. So what Africana Studies does is it says, okay, equipping you with analytical tools, understanding of our own unique cultural realities, our own unique historical experiences, our own unique worldviews, our own unique social context and ideals and objectives. Now, take that curiosity and direct it toward addressing the needs, concerns, and interests of Black communities, solving problems. And when I say problems, I don't necessarily mean bad things. It doesn't have to be a bad thing, but as long as there's a difference between, or a distance between, a current reality and a preferred reality, or a current condition and a preferred condition, is a problem in that sense. Mm-hmm. And all Africana Studies does is equip you with those tools that you don't really get in other disciplines, and directs your curiosity toward doing that. So with that equipment and that direction, then we can ask questions that help us to solve problems and also satisfy our curiosity at the same time. So it can be in terms of media. We have people who do media study in Africana, and they'll give us information, helps us become better consumers of images and messages and media. But then also it can help us to create new images, which is what I mean. Aaron Magruder, he was an Africana Studies major, and he used it to create his. Yeah, absolutely.
I should not be surprised. He created Huey. I should not be surprised.
Oh my goodness, man! I know the Boondocks in and out.
Yeah, episodes. Me too, man. and I was in the military when they were coming out, and we were like deployed to Afghanistan, trying to figure out how we were going to watch the episodes. It was so big. We was like, man, we got to get the episodes over here somehow, man. gotta, because when season 2 dropped, I was in Kandahar.
Oh man!
And I was like, man, wow. We got it somehow we got to get the episodes over here, And lo and behold, man, them Afghans, I don't know how they got it, but they got it. Wow. And they were like, sir, we got the DVDs. I was like, look, man, I got to have it. I got to have it.
Can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
It's so many of our most radical in thought Black people, or black men, and in particular, the military, have been military, come back from the military. How would you say that your experience in the military has shaped your political consciousness in any way? And if so, how?
Oh, yeah. You know, I instantly thought about the reason why I got out of the military. I did not appreciate being treated like a number. And what I mean by that, for people that don't know, before a unit goes to Afghanistan, Iraq, Germany, Korea, anywhere, there's a big meeting. And all the important people are in this meeting. And they talk about numbers. They talk about how many soldiers they're going to take, how many soldiers they're going to leave behind, how many soldiers are going to be for what and what position, and everything down to the last detail. And I remember there was a guy in my unit, there's no way in hell he should have been going with us. He was old. He was on his last couple of years in the military, had a broken tibia, an air cast. And the doctor said, he can't go. And the sergeant major looked at him. He said, "Can he heal in Kandahar?" And the doctor was like, I guess. And he was like, "He's going. I need my numbers." And I was like, "What the hell?" Like, I'm like, "What is happening here?" Like, and then there was two other guys had statements from the doctor. Their mental health was not up to par.
Mm-hmm.
So if your mental health is not up to par in the States, it's definitely not going to be up to par away from your family, your kids, and everybody you love in Afghanistan for up to a year. They spoke on the behalf of these soldiers, saying they don't think that they're mentally fit to deploy. But somehow, when we got to Afghanistan, they were there. And I was like, what? I know I was in the room. Like, what the hell is happening here? One of those soldiers, his wife didn't want to be with him anymore, said that she was going, divorce him, take the children. He put an M16 under his chin and blew his brains out. And the kicker to that is all of us are insured up to $400,000 of life insurance, which that woman will now receive because of his actions. And it was stuff like that, that really rubbed me the wrong way. Because how can you be with yourself knowing you made that decision that destroyed a family? You destroyed this man's family, somebody's son, somebody's father. And I had to pack up and ship this man's stuff home to his family. So being up close with that, and seeing these white folks don't give a damn about their own people at times. Definitely don't give a fuck about me, And I hear people testimony on this all the time. There's a lot of racism in the military. A lot of them. There's white supremacist gangs. There's people in key leadership figures that are racist as shit. All you gotta do is get a couple beers in them, and that N-word start flying. I've experienced this, and I'm not to say that my total experience was negative, but that made me see it. I can't run from this. It's right in front of me. We're not talking about being at college. We're not talking about hanging around with some people and it get a little out of hand. We're talking about an institution that defends this nation. We're talking about an institution that trains people to defend this nation in a certain manner and uphold the Army values of integrity and strong will and justice and all of this. And these people are out of damn control. And they're discriminatory. And they don't hide it. And you have to blow the whistle to get something done when that happens to you. And I've seen black men go down, lose rank, lose money, lose all types of stuff just because of, you know, the situation and who was moving the pieces was in control and in power. So definitely it impacted me politically, you know, to say, man, you know, people that try to say racism is a dated concept. Racism doesn't exist anymore. Oh, it's not as bad as it was, you know. All of this stuff that people, you know, try to throw around and say when they get uncomfortable about the topic. Bullshit. And you know, you can't run from it when you're in that arena. You still and there's nothing you can really do about it once you're in that uniform except fight, and you still might lose. You might have all the evidence.
Yeah.
Just like the justice system.
Yeah.
You might have all the evidence and it still not go in your favor. I knew I had to get the hell on because I wasn't gonna make it. I wasn't gonna make it. I wasn't gonna make it 20 years and retire. I was gonna end up knocking one of these motherfuckers in the head. So I took my stuff, you know, and I got on. You know, it's great opportunity. Don't get me wrong. I've made the most of the skills that I learned, but
Yeah.
you know, people like John Henry Clark, people like myself, and so many others, we face that reality, you know, and it definitely impacts you politically, and you know, it gives you something that the average civilian just doesn't have, and that systemic racism from inside the military hits hard, man. It's hard. It hits really hard. So yeah, that would definitely be my my answer to that question. I didn't mean to go off on that, but
No, I wanted to know. I mean, I definitely wanted to know. And what would you? I know this is not my interview of you, but
you
know what made is that related to why you started this channel?
Oh man, that's a long story. It's loosely related though.
Okay.
You know, because while I was my journey to this channel is unconventional as hell. My journey actually started in the Masonic Lodge.
Okay.
I had a person that was my superior. He was a district deputy. He started asking me questions about African history and even Masonic history that I couldn't answer. I had no idea what the answer was, and he put me on some books. One of those books was Black Square and Compass by Joseph A. Walks, one of the best Black Freemasons ever. A detailed book of Black people's experience in Freemasonry and things like that. And when I couldn't answer those questions,
what was the name of it?
Black Square and Compass by Joseph A. Walks. And when I couldn't answer those questions, you know, and he put me on some other books, and I just kept digging. What else don't I know? You know, and digging. And because of that dig, you know, that started when I was in the military. The short and skinny of it is, you know, 11 years later, we're here and I'm interviewing you, you know. But up until that point, I never really believed Christianity, but I was holding on to it. This is all I do.
Mm-hmm.
But because of him making me dig, I got to a point where, you know, I'm studying Egypt, and I'm looking at Africa, and I'm looking at, you know, different things, and then it, you know, it brings me to a certain point where I meet certain people, and then, you know, learn research methodology, and now I'm here. That's the short and skinny of it. But Yeah, it definitely had an impact on me, and I'm glad you brought that up because that really segues into my next question. I know you didn't mean for it to, but it does. Being that you're a collegiate professor, have you experienced racism in your profession?
Well, absolutely. Absolutely on a constant basis, but I think it's also par for the course. Like for in like a Pan African Studies department, this is my this is an analogy I would give. You can have a Pan African Studies department. Okay, three things. Think of it like a triangle. You can have a Pan African Studies department.
Mhm.
You can have peace on campus, peaceful relationships with administration, student, staff, etc. Peace. Um, and you can have an authentic, you can advance the discipline of Pan African Studies or Africana Studies. That's three things. Have a department, advance the discipline of Pan African Studies, have peace on campus. You can only ever have two of those things at the same time. You know what I mean? You can
Yeah,
only ever have two of those things at the same
and
time.
peace got to go.
Yeah, if you have a department, if you have a department and it's an authentic one and you advancing the discipline, you're doing that kind of work, you're not going to have peace on campus. You can't, because you have to have a relationship with the university that is symbiotic, yes, but also pushes them because they are inherently racist institutions. If you're an authentic Africana Studies department, you have to push against that. You know what I mean? So you're going to have tension on campus. There's no such thing as having a Pan African Studies department advancing the discipline and also having peace on campus. Not at an MSI or a PWI campus, at least. It's not possible. And
Sometimes
then
not at
you have,
HBCU.
hey, you know, and HBCU folks could speak on. I would and also say you have peace. You can have peace on campus, and you can have a Black Studies department, but it is not going to be authentic. It's not going to be progressive. It's going to be tame, still, docile as possible. And then, like, say, okay, you want to have you want to have peace and have and advance the discipline. Well, you're gonna have to do that. You're not gonna have you're not gonna have a department on campus.
You go get ready.
You can you might have you'll be where we are right now. You be doing it. You can do that authentically on your YouTube channel.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
You can do it, but you won't be on campus because they're not
right.
gonna have it. You know what I mean? So peace on campus, you know, and I would equate that with like not having like these racist experiences on campus, peace on campus, Africana Studies department, and advance the discipline. Again, you can only ever have two at the same time.
Hmm.
So
So
yes, absolutely, I experienced it, but it's par for the course.
would
Yeah.
you say that you've experienced what W.B. Du Bois calls double consciousness? And for those that don't know, I'll explain it briefly. It's when an internal conflict is experienced by a subordinate or colonized group in an oppressive atmosphere of society. Would you explain? Would you say that you've experienced that in your studies programs?
Um, I think I have experienced the pressure to develop a double consciousness, but I resist that by all means. Any internal war in my, I do not have, I don't want to have, I don't think I have and don't want to have any like warring souls inside. So
Mhm.
absolutely not. I don't think so. um I don't think so, but I definitely feel the pressure to do that, because if I am to say become the person that they want me to be, then yeah, I would have to develop that a double consciousness. Now, if we want to say, okay, am I aware of how they see me and what they want from me, how different parties see me and what they want from me? Okay, yes, I'm conscious of that, but I would not say that that has developed into a double consciousness inside. And if so, I hope to get rid of it as soon as possible.
I definitely experienced it towards my last year in the military. You
Wow.
know, it was there. You know, I was like, man, how do I get out? Basically, you want to play it safe because military is a safe place. It's a safe place.
That's interesting. I've never heard of it described as a safe. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Financially, you are safe. Unless you're doing something crazy, you're safe. You don't have to pay for housing.
Okay.
You don't have to pay for food. You don't have to pay for clothes. You don't have to pay for health insurance. These are the 4 things that eat up everybody's check every month, and you don't have to pay for it. The gas is discounted. The internet is free. What do you have to pay for? You don't have to pay for any of these things. All they want you to do is show up and work, and you will get paid every 2 weeks. You will get it on the 1st and the 15th every single time. It will not be late. It will not be in contest. It will be there. Very safe environment as far as financial security.
Okay.
What? You want to have children? We're going to give you more money. We're going to give you more money than you to have some children. You had 2, we're going to give you some more money. You know what I'm saying? Hey, guess what? You want to re-enlist? We're going to give you a bonus. It's very safe, man. Like, as far as financial security, that's why people just stay in. Because they're like, man, I'm not going to get this go out there. When I go out there, it's where you gonna live, what you gonna eat, health insurance, taking care of the kids. All of that gonna be on you, and that scares people when they've been inside of the system because they've sheltered you from all of that for so many years. But I had to get out. I had to take a chance because I was developing that warring, and I was like, nah, man, I'm not gonna make it. I'm not gonna make it. I'm gonna be in an orange jumpsuit messing with these people. And they got their own jails. Guess what? You get less time in their jails than you do in regular jail. So they shield you, man. So it's but I had to go. I had to go. But give me your top 3 Afrocentrics, man.
Okay. I can give you 2 for sure. Okay. I can give you 2 for sure.
We get some feedback. Hold on. Where is that coming?
Are you muted?
Yeah, say something again.
Hello.
Is anybody else hearing that feedback, or is it just me? Let me know in the comments. If it's just me, I'll deal with it.
Let me know if anything changes.
Yeah, it's still okay.
Still going.
Oh, and look who's here, Brother Asar, the meeting place himself. Okay, what I'm gonna do, brother? I'm gonna kick you out. Just hit the link and come right back in. All right. right. Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why it's feedbacking on his end, but hopefully he comes right back in and we finish up. Like, share, subscribe. If you're enjoying the show so far, it's sorry, it's a COINTELPRO conspiracy. Hey man, I know my name on some list somewhere. That damn BlakPantha. I know it. I know I'm on that list. All right, brother. Let's see. Say something?
Hello.
Oh yeah, we good. We all the way in there. So, give me your top 3 Afrocentrics.
Yeah, I can give you 2. I can give you the 2 for sure. I really.
Come on, brother.
I'll try. Okay, here. Okay, let me try. All right. Now I'm talking about people who self-identify as Afrocentric. Now, if we want to talk about, like, if we talk, kind of use an Afrocentric and African-centered interchangeable, it's a different.
Oh man, it's back.
So is it female?
It's back. Let's see. Let's see if it's something that speaker. Say something.
Hello.
Yeah, you good.
Okay, so Dr. Malefia Sante and Ama Mazama.
Oh, you cheated.
Off top.
You
Okay.
cheated.
Okay. Well. All right. Okay. So if you want me to take them, off the table?
No, it's your list,
take
bro.
them off the table?
It's your list.
All right. I'll give you a couple of lists. Okay. Cool. First, Dr. Sante has to be.
Yeah.
On top. All right. Then Dr. Mazama has operationalized Afrocentricity as a paradigm, and it's like the most underrated chapter. It's not even a chapter. It's like an introduction to the book, the Afrocentric paradigm. Perhaps the most underrated written document on Afrocentricity that exists. She explains it so clear.
She's a beast.
So Asante Mazama. Now, after that, it's just a litany of I can't reduce down to, you know what I mean? I can't reduce
one slot left.
I can't pick that. I can't get one person in that spot. Oh man, it's so tough. That is so tough. I can't do it. And don't think I'm not trying either. Don't think I'm not trying. That is almost impossible to fill that third spot. And I dare anybody who's listening to do it either. And I don't think you can do it.
I'm gonna do it.
You can do it? Okay. Okay.
I'm gonna go with 3. This is my top 3. I'm going with Malefia Sante. I'm going with Dr. John Henrik Clarke.
Okay.
And I'm going with Amos Wilson.
All right. If we're doing that, then fine. I got mine too. If we're doing that, then okay. Because I'm all right. It would be, if we're talking Afrocentricity, if we're talking about Afrocentricity / African centered.
Yeah.
Can we put it that way?
Okay.
All right, fine. Great. Then in that case, I would put Dr. Asante, Wade Nobles.
Strong pick.
Gosh.
You
No. Give me a chance. Hold on. Give me some time here. I'm thinking on the spot. I'm on the fly here with this. Wade Nobles. Kobe Kanban. Kobe Kanban.
Yeah, that's a tough.
So that's who I put up there. Yeah.
Kobe's is a quality pick. You know, honorable mention for me because he was in Black nationalism, because of his evolution towards the end of his death, is Malcolm X. That's definitely man, brother was brilliant, and who knows what he would have become if he would have been allowed to live, because he was transitioning.
Yes.
Transitioning, man. I saw the evolution coming, but unfortunately,
yes.
He
is the model. He is the model for like this kind of like it's slightly, even in academia, I think it's a little bit of a stigma against changing one's perspective. It's almost look like betrayal, disloyalty.
Yeah.
But Malcolm X is a constant reminder that one can always evolve in thinking. You know what I mean? Evolve, even though his evolution sometimes is mischaracterized and stuff like that. It's kind of painted in a bad way sometimes, but constant evolution of thought.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. When people call him a shining black prince, I understand exactly what they mean. And I have to say, for those that are watching the show, if you've watched Godfather of Harlem, the brother that is playing him now in that show, I know there's going to be some people that come after me for saying this. And don't get me wrong, I fought this with my wife. I said, no. But the more I watched, I had to concede. That brother that is playing Malcolm X right now is the best person that has ever played Malcolm X that I've ever seen.
Wow, that is a extremely strong statement, sir.
And Denzel included. I know what you're gonna say in the comments.
That's what everybody's thinking right now. Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, but the brother, now he kind of looks like him. He's got his mannerisms. He's got his speech pattern. I mean, I'm blown away every episode. I'm like, he's getting more like Malcolm every episode. I'm like, man, like he must have really went in the trenches and just studied Malcolm. I mean, when he was given, because he gave the Ballad of the Bullet speech on the last episode, and I'm like, and I'm thinking I'm actually listening to Malcolm at some point. I'm like, man, he really must have went in like a deep dive. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. And I give all the props to that brother because he's representing him in the right way. Even Malcolm's struggle with, being silenced, kicked out of the nation. You're a traitor. You're not last.
Did they get to that point?
Yeah. They got to that.
I haven't seen. Only saw season 1.
You gotta get to season 2, bro. You gotta get to season 2. He dealing with the struggle, his wife putting that power into him, saying, you're more than just a minister for the nation. And his struggle with that, and then coming to grips with it and taking his power back. He's developing all of that, and it's a great show to watch. Anybody, I think they can glean from that show as well, man. But I want you to promote any websites, products, anything you got going on. Plug it.
I would just say afrometrics.org. And afrometrics.org. I would say please visit that site. There is a brother I know who recently wrote a book His name is Joseph Cooper, and it's called A Legacy of African American Resistance and Activism Through Sport. So this brother is very good. I would recommend anybody to read his book. And I would say that that's something that I didn't spend enough time with on the Black Men Studies book, sports. And I think he definitely does a great job. So I would encourage anybody to check him out too. So
right.
Absolutely.
That's an interesting topic and has a long history. You know, I always say there's two critical errors we made when it comes to sports back in the day.
What's that?
We gave up the Negro leagues and the ABA. Gave away our power. Everybody was coming to see us. And they knew it. That's why they was coming for Satchel Paige. That's why they was coming for Jackie Robinson. That's why they was coming for Dr. J. That's why they was coming for David Thompson. That's why they wanted to integrate that into their league, because the NBA was dying. So was the MLB. Nobody wanted. They weren't exciting. They weren't dunking like Dr. J. They couldn't do what he did. They couldn't do what Satchel Paige did and pitch from both arms. You know what I'm saying? 5 innings this arm, 4 innings the next. They couldn't do that. We had the Birmingham Black Bears, the Newark Eagles, the Homestead Grays. We had these stuff, man. We had it. We had the eyes of America. We even made it to TV. Some Negroes, as they were called during that time. Some brothers.
Okay.
So we wanted to integrate because we didn't see the value, and we wanted to be in the big leagues and be on equal footing, and in that quest to be recognized as an equal league, or a, you know, brothers and sisters with people and fight that fight, we lost our power. We lost.
This is why I think that what you okay, so we can circle back to your channel and the creation of Killmongers Corner.
Right.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing we're talking about. The way you feel about the military, I hope I don't want to upset anybody, but I often feel that way. I feel that way on College Campus a lot.
Your feedback is back.
I'm sorry.
Nah, sorry. Say something else?
Hello?
Yeah. But I have the same thoughts. I
can feel that way on the college campus. And it's why I would like to I want to create something like what you're doing. I would like to bring my curriculum and teaching, yes, on campus in Pan-African Studies, because it's a silo that we have created on campuses, and create community on campus as much as we can. But we got to have something off campus too, because there's too much control on campus, you know? So I feel the push to create something, or to be creative outside of campus, be for that very same independence and more control and power, you know? And I think that that's what you have done here with the channel, you know? You created the journal, you got the channel, and you have autonomy.
That's the goal, brother. That's the goal. Keep creating systems within systems. You know, that's the goal. You know, because that's all humans are at a basic fundamental level. We are a system within systems. So we are a microcosm of the macrocosm of the universe, and we must continue to create. That's my philosophy. I'm gonna put this question up, let you answer that, then we're gonna get out of here.
Inadequately prepared for that probably plot that applies to a great deal of us, I would say.
Yeah.
And if anybody who's just listening, they can't see it. Oh, well, can you read it? Can you read what that question was? Oh, here it is.
Question for Dr. McDougal. What advice and reading recommendations would you give to Black men that were inadequately prepared for manhood and seeking to improve?
I think if it's reading, then I would definitely say Anderson Franklin. Anderson Franklin has a book, and it's called From Brotherhood to Manhood. Yeah, it's called From Brotherhood to Manhood. And he is a psychologist. He's a Black psychologist. He works with a lot of Black males. And in it, he kind of talks about, he gives anecdotes, you know, and because he's talked to so many Black males, boys, men, he's able to really capture like really specific experiences that different Black males have, and kind of cuts to the chase, like of really like the core of different challenges and solutions, you know? So I would, one, recommend his reading, and also just I would recommend his reading. I think it's a good place to start. Yeah. And when you say like inadequate, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say I would recommend a book called Issues of Manhood in Black and White, an incisive look into masculinity and the societal definition of African man, by none other than Amos Wilson.
There you go.
And this is a book that I read with my son. Definitely I would, I would recommend that book. This is how it looks. If you've never seen it, that's how the cover looks. And of course, it is on Amazon and other websites as well. That is Issues of Manhood in Black and White, an incisive look into masculinity and the societal definition of the African man. Thank you for coming on, brother. This was a great show, man. Had a lot of fun. Man, this is definitely one of my favorite shows. Stay on after we go off air, because I want to talk with you a little more about something. But Thank you all for coming. As always, like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And we're going to continue this going. Up next, after Brother McDougal, we're going to have a brother that is a political organizer, and he has recently published a documentary called The Un-American Dilemma. Brother Omawale Africa will be on the show very soon. We're working out the logistics. And I'm going to continue with my Isheshe series. The next topic on the Isheshe series is going to be scams, schemes, and terminology within Isheshe Lagba. So if you've been scammed or you've heard about scams within the Orisha tradition, we're going to tackle that, try to help some people out and get you familiar with some terms. So greet you as always, or I leave you as always, at the word of the Yoruba people from southwestern Nigeria, Odabo.